Local news, national news, even feel-good news, delivering the topics that are relevant to you.
That's why I listen to Joe. He covers it all.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
If you're joining us here tonight, we got a lot to cover, so everybody have a seat, please. I'll give you a moment to have a seat. Go ahead, have a seat. Everyone, sit down, sit down. Very good. Everybody take a seat, get comfortable. We're going to be here for a few minutes. We've got a lot of important stuff to discuss here tonight. My name is Joe Kelley, and I want to welcome to the discussion here at this hour WDBO reporter Nicole Diaz. And Nicole, you have been today monitoring the Orange County School Board meeting dealing with cell phones in schools.
Yes.
And I've got two teenage sons, two 17-year-old sons, Black and Decker, and they share with me regularly content that they either recorded in school or someone else recorded in school or antics that are taking place in school. I hear stories every day about kids cheating, using their cell phones in school, doing terribly inappropriate things in bathrooms with cell phones in schools and all kinds of terrible stuff. And the Orange County School Board is having a discussion about what to do with cell phones in school. And I think a lot of our listeners are going to be surprised to learn that for all intents and purposes, kids pretty much have free reign at the moment with how they use their cell phones in schools. I mean, they use it all the time.
Yeah, and it's what you said. Right now, it's just a discussion. So they're going through, as they regularly do every year before the school year starts, going through the student code of conduct, and they're specifically going to look at the part of the student code of conduct that talks about cell phones. They're not banning cell phones on property. They can have them at like school events. If they have a pep rally, they can have the phone on them. What they're trying to do is limit the use of the phone unless a teacher permits them to use it, which it gets kind of funky there because when is a teacher allowed to give them permission and that kind of stuff is what I think that's the kinks they're trying to work out right now. But they are not banned on property. They just have to be put away from the first bell of the day till dismissal.
That is the discussion they're having,
right,
about putting it away bell to bell, no cell phones bell to bell.
Yeah.
You can use a cell phone before school and you can use a cell phone after school, but between the first bell and the last bell, you can't use the phone.
Right, including lunch and recess. They specifically called out those two moments because I'm guessing that's when kids most use them. And this includes smartwatches, earbuds. This isn't just phones. It's more like technology that could be used to communicate. And they kind of, the chair of the school board, Teresa Jacobs, said that it was about their safety.
The concerns that I've heard about safety issues and the fact that we may have communications going back and forth between people outside the school or even inside the school, coordinating activities that could be dangerous.
You know, and I can tell you from my own personal experience with my kids, do you remember when they had the walkout and it was an LGBTQ support walkout?
There's been
multiple walkouts, right? But in the last school year, they had this walkout, and I know that all of the kids organized that walkout through their phones. I mean, they were communicating through their phones saying, all right, we're all going to walk out at noon or whatever time it was. And I think that's part of what Teresa Jacobs was touching on. I think she was also touching on more nefarious, dangerous stuff than just a simple walkout like that.
Yeah, and then the part about them not having their phones during lunch or recess kind of goes to what the vice chair, Gallo, said, that she's on the other side of this, saying that all of this is going a step too far towards the students.
I feel like that it's a step too far. I feel like it's an overreach. I understand the discipline. We need to address it. I'm for addressing it. I'm in the minority on the board on this one, but I just feel like it's up to the parent to parent. And by us saying you can't use it during lunchtime because we want to force socialization, we're parenting by forcing socialization.
So what is the next step for us, Nicole Diaz? What is the next step for the school board?
Today was just a workshop, kind of talk about it, see where everybody stands. They will vote on this. This will go in front of the board in 2 weeks on August 1st.
And is that the kind of thing that parents can chime in on? I'm
not sure if it's going to be open to public debate. Okay. I would assume so.
Yeah.
But just seeing on Twitter parents' reactions, there's parents on both sides.
I would
Some
imagine.
Parents are like, I don't want my kids taking their phones to school at all. Other parents are concerned about, we've had recent incidents where kids will video a teacher doing something or saying something insulting to them. And the only way, other than just a video proof that another student took or that student took, you really have their word against the teachers or vice versa. And so a lot of parents are concerned that this is going to kind of hide certain things. And then others are concerned, my kids, their phones are a distraction. I don't want to send them to school because I need to be able to reach them and something happens. But I don't want that phone to be a distraction to them. So the parents, I think, there's parents on both sides about this.
WDBO's Nicole Diaz, great reporting. Thank you so much for giving us an update on that, and we'll continue to follow the story. And this is an opportunity for you to weigh in at 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app. I know that we've already had a few open mics that have been coming in, and I got to tell you, when my sons... Black and Decker, they're 17-year-old twins. They go to school out in West Orange County. When they first started sharing with me the antics that involve cell phones at schools, I was aghast. I was shocked. I had no idea that cell phone usage was so rampant in our schools. And Nicole, while I still have you, you did mention that the phones would not be allowed at lunch or recess. And the recess is the part that grabs me because high school kids don't get a recess anyway. So we're talking about elementary school kids.
Yeah, this is across all public schools, yeah.
And while I find high schoolers using phones to be very, very troublesome, I mean, elementary school kids really seems like they should be more focused on academics rather than...
And that goes beyond my generation as well, because I did not have an elementary. I got my first phone after Sandy Hook, and I was in 5th grade. So, I mean, and that's a valid reason to give me a phone, I think. But I don't really remember there being phones in, kids my age having phones until, that 5th grade year, my last year of elementary school.
Well, I'm sure, not in this room, but I'm sure there are some people old enough around here that probably didn't have cell phones at all when they were in high school or anything like that. Of course, that wouldn't be me, but you get the idea. Nicole, again, thank you so much. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. Or use the open mic in the WDBO app. I got to tell you, I think there are definitely pros to having kids having their cell phones while they're in school. And those pros include that the students can use their phones for educational purposes. There are times in which they could research something. They could look something up if need be. The downside of that is kids cheat. Kids prolifically cheat using cell phones and smart devices, using their earbuds, using their Apple Watches. I mean, these kids are cheating like crazy in school right now because of their phones. I love the fact that cell phones can be used to communicate with parents and with custodians, with custodians of children, not the custodians of the school. I love that they can communicate with their parents if there's an emergency, if someone is having a diabetic episode, or if someone's spleen ruptures, or something like that happens. I love that they can communicate, or even for a parent, if a parent is having a crisis, if a parent is having an emergency, that Uncle Bob just died and we got to call, and get the kid out of school straight away. I mean, I love having that kind of access to our kids. I think cell phones are great when it comes to being able to provide students with mental health access and that kind of stuff. If they need that while they're in school, I understand that. But there is so much access to inappropriate content. There is so much inappropriate content being created. My kids showed me these music videos that kids are making in school, and they're obscene. They're grotesquely inappropriate for any age group. They're grotesquely inappropriate for my age group. They're just terrible. And I think a lot of parents are just going to be shocked to learn that it's really kind of the wild, wild west in our Orange County schools right now when it comes to cell phones, because kids are doing everything and anything they want for the most part with cell phones. Now, I know where my kids go to school, they have a lot of substitute teachers because of this teacher shortage that has been going on since before the pandemic, but has really been exacerbated by the pandemic. So I just know that there's a lot of kids that are dealing with substitute teachers that don't have the same powers that teachers do. But here, call right now, 844-580-WDBO. I got a line open for you, 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app.
I just have one thing I'd like to say about the school board wanting to ban students from using their phones at school all day. What took them so long?
Yeah, that was my thought exactly. I mean, seriously, when my kids started telling me about this, I was stunned, and I remained stunned to learn that the kids have such widespread use of their phones.
We got through school without cell phones. If you had to be reached, somebody came to your room and got you.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that the school board is discussing, saying, look, if a kid needs to make a phone call, even on his or her own cell phone, they can go down to the office, to the front office, and make the call from there. Because, look, we also know that kids tend to lie. And kids, will lie about why they're using the phone just so that they don't get in trouble. And I think kids can always go to the front office to use their cell phones to make a phone call.
There were no cell phone 20 years ago in school, 30 years ago in school, and 40 years ago in school. Look how we all turned out. Get rid of them from the schools.
And I think it'd be foolish to say that there's not a place for cell phones in schools. I think there is a place for cell phones in schools, and we don't want to shun the technology just because some people are abusing it or misusing it. There is a time and a place for a cell phone in school, and I got to tell you, the biggest time and the biggest place is active shooters. And when you have an active shooter walk into a school, there is no better resource than having 20 kids in every classroom, each of whom has a cell phone, each of whom is able to make a call to the police, each of whom is able to contact their parents, each of whom is able to be contacted by their parents. I mean, I think there's a huge benefit to having these cell phones in schools for safety purposes. But again, on the other side of that, as Teresa Jacobs, the school board chair, said, it can also be used for nefarious reasons the same way. People can be organizing, hey, if you're my buddy, the school shooter that's standing outside, I can tell you right now that the back door is open, and there can be some dangerous messages sent back and forth between people inside the school and outside the school.
The reason they're banning cell phones in school is because they do not want the parents to know what they're being taught. And I don't think it's going to pass because the outcry from the parents, especially the helicopter parents, I need to know where my baby is at 24 hours a day, will be so great that I think this will not go. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. And just a kindly tip here. When leaving an open mic, it is usually helpful if you turn your radio down before making that recording. That always helps so we don't get distracted by hearing what I said at the same time. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326.
How dare you try to take away my phone during school time? What if there's an emergency at home? What if someone in my family goes to the hospital? How are they supposed to call me? What am I supposed to do? Take away my phone. I'm not giving you my phone. I'll go to jail and sue you for $50 billion before I give up my phone to you, oppressors.
Out of my cold, dead fingers, will you be able to get my phone?
We got through school without cell phones. If you had to be reached, somebody came to your room and got you.
And that was always the worst, wasn't it? That was always the worst when you're in a classroom and there's a knock at the door and you see the teacher walk over to the door and the teacher turns to the entire classroom and says, Joe Kelley, you're needed in the front office. And then the whole class, oh, Joe's in trouble. Remember that? I do. I mean, not firsthand. Not firsthand, but not firsthand, if you understand what I mean. 844-580-WDBO or hit me up in the open mic in the WDBO app. Should cell phones be banned bell to bell at Orange County Public Schools? That is exactly what the Orange County School Board is discussing right now, and I'd love to get your take on it. Join me at 844-580-WDBO or use the open mic in the WDBO app.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk.
844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. If you want to see us behind the scenes, if you want to see the faces that go with the voices on the radio that you listen to every day, just check out the chat group right now with our video. It's at the WDBO Facebook page. You can check it out right now. And there's four of us. Well, there's Laurel and Paul Cross, and you can see Josh, and you can see me. And then for a brief second, you could see Nicole, and things are just weird on the video. But it's a lot of fun. We have a great group in there, and we all chat. We all become friends, and we're talking about all getting together and maybe going bowling someday or getting out and maybe going to a game together or doing something. Maybe we'll go have bourbon or something. That'd be fun. Wouldn't that we'll just go drink bourbon one day. All right, we are talking about the Orange County School Board. They are having a discussion about whether or not to ban cell phones in classes bell to bell, from the first bell of the day to the last bell of the day. And I think a lot of you, again, I think a lot of people are going to be surprised to learn that they hadn't already done that it wasn't already banned.
There's definitely a time and place for cell phones. The world is not the same as it was 20, 30, or 40 years ago when we were in school. However, it does need to be regulated. But the problem is it won't be enforced due to the lack of administration in the schools, period.
You know, and I as much as I hate to agree with you, I fear that you're probably right. I think in many schools, many public schools, the inmates are running the asylum. And I think many teachers and substitutes, frankly, are scared of some of the students. And some of the students act so aggressively and behave so aggressively that I think teachers realize that is a major flashpoint in taking away a kid's cell phone. I think any of us parents know that. I mean, for any of us parents who have ever taken away our kids' cell phones before, we know that could become a real flashpoint in a relationship and can lead to choice words or regrettable actions. So I fear that you may be right, that some teachers may not feel empowered enough to actually confiscate a phone or to tell someone to put their phone away or something along those lines.
Take it from people that do substitute teaching. There's no backup from the administration or the office. Nobody answers the phone. If you have a situation, you can't get anybody to come to your portable. So highly unlikely that cell phones would be enforced. They don't even make the kids wear uniforms or have their IDs on them. Yeah, our schools are a mess. Our schools are such a mess right now, and it breaks my heart. And we homeschooled our kids for all the way before they got to high school, and then once they hit high school age, they really wanted to go to public schools, and we gave in to their wishes. And I got to tell you, public schools are, and I don't mean this as disrespect to the teachers. I mean this as in they can't staff enough people. There just are not enough people to be able to make it to school as teachers and as administrators, as managers, and as others to be able to enforce some of these rules.
Hey, Joe, I think I would appreciate anyway if you would start sending out notifications when your show starts. I go on Rumble and places like that sometimes, and they'll send me an alert when a certain show is coming on. And even though it's the same time every day, it'd be cool if you sent out alerts letting us know your show is about to start. I like that. And yeah, the show, it starts at 5 o'clock every day. So if you wanted to set a timer, that would be cool. But yeah, we could, I could just, hey, the Joe Kelley Show is starting right at 5 o'clock. I could do that every day. Do you think that would be helpful, or would that just not help at all? It's hard to say, really. 844-580-WDBO, or hit me up in the open mic in the WDBO app. Coming up, we've got a U.S. soldier that evidently has defected to North Korea. What the heck was that guy thinking? Hang on. What to do with the U.S. soldier that has defected to North Korea? We'll get into that coming up in the next few minutes. So stay with us here on WDBO.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. Orange, Seminole, Osceola, and all of Central Florida. Join the conversation now by using the open mic in the WDBO app. Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's news and talk, WDBO.
Orange County School Board today discussing a bell-to-bell ban on cell phones in school. bell to bell, from the first bell to the last bell, no cell phones in classrooms, no cell phones in lunch, no cell phones at recess. They literally discuss recess because evidently elementary kids are whipping out their cell phones during recess and using them. That just blows my mind that we've got an elementary problem with cell phones. I knew we got a high school problem with cell phones. You can join the discussion at 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326, or use the open mic in the WDBO app.
Most cell phones nowadays cost about $1,000. A teacher in the school system has no claim to that personal property of that child or me. And let's face it, that's my phone. Okay, I'm the one paying for it. If you take my child's phone, I'll press charges for grand theft. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
Wow. Okay. I want to hear that again, actually. I want to soak that one in.
Most cell phones nowadays cost about $1,000. A teacher in the school system has no claim to that personal property of that child or me. And let's face it, that's my phone. Okay, I'm the one paying for it. If you take my child's phone, I'll press charges for grand theft. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
So that's a hard line to take on that position, isn't it? I really feel for the teachers, because those are the parents you're dealing with. And that is the fear that is put in you when you want to go confiscate a child's phone. To think that you could be charged for something like that. I don't know to what extent there's a legal precedent for that. I don't know to what extent that could even happen. But clearly that is his opinion, and certainly he probably represents a good portion of parents out there. That, how dare you touch my child's phone? I am on the other side of that, and I would be appalled to learn if my child was using his phone to cheat, to create inappropriate content, there's a lot of things that a kid can use with a phone in the school that to me is grotesquely inappropriate. And there are only a very small handful of things that a student could use a phone for that would be appropriate. And confiscating a student's phone is not stealing their phone, is not taking it forever. I mean, to me, one would confiscate their phone till the end of class. You can get your phone back at the end of class or at the end of the school day. But if you're gonna break the rules, it just seems like we're not enforcing. I'm telling you, the inmates are running the asylum. At public schools these days, the kids are in charge. The kids feel empowered. The kids feel like they can run roughshod over the place. I don't know if it's like that in elementary schools, but I can tell you just anecdotally from everything I've seen in public high schools, it is a mess right now, and the kids are the ones who are in charge.
Time to get rid of the cell phones. These kids get addicted to these cell phones, and then when they start working, when they get out of high school or even college, I think it's some kind of a entitlement that they have to have the cell phones while they're working. And this is why we get rid of hundreds of people every year at least at where I work, that are addicted to cell phones and need to have their cell phones while they're working. End it. Get rid of them. They don't need it. Work for 200 years.
Yeah, see, and if the purpose of school is to teach our kids how to be good employees in society, which I hate to think that's what school is for. I would like to think that school is just for educational purposes, not about indoctrinating children into the workforce. But either way, if they do go into the workforce, they do need to understand that the phones cannot be the biggest highlight of their day, and they do need to have some control over their use of phones.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
Paul Cross checks our drive home for this afternoon, and make sure as you're driving, you're not using your cell phones, right? That's still against the law.
Hang on a second, Joe. Hang on a second. I got to take this.
Yes, I'm sure it's very important.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, actually, I'm looking at a crash, 436 at Pershing Avenue. It's got the right lane blocked right now. Very busy area there. Also, a crash on the Turnpike southbound at Colonial. They have the left lane blocked, and it's heavy coming out of Lake County right now, heading toward Colonial and the 429, continuing on south there on the Turnpike. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, please hold. Hold on. I'm Paul Cross.
We also have a number of open mics about the Taco Tuesday lawsuit that Taco John's, the restaurant Taco John's, which we don't have any here in Florida. They're all in the northern states. But Taco John's owned the trademark and was defending it against Taco Bell. And Taco John's finally said, to hell with it. It's going to cost us too much money to defend this lawsuit from Taco Bell. And Taco Bell even enlisted the help of LeBron James to help make their case.
I didn't know someone had a trademark on Taco Tuesday. I thought that was just a thing passed around on social media. That's interesting. Now I wonder if someone has a trademark on Wing It Wednesday.
Oh, Wing It Wednesday. We should go pitch it to Buffalo Wild Wings and see if we can sell them. We should get the trademark and then pitch it to Buffalo Wild Wings, don't you think? Here is LeBron James. This is the commercial from LeBron James, hired by Taco Bell to make the case.
You know what it is. It's Taco.
Why did I get bleeped? Because this is a commercial and there's a trademark on Taco. I mean, how can someone own Taco?
Come on, man.
Everyone should be able to say and celebrate Taco. Taco.
What are we doing?
Thankfully, someone is doing something about it. No more trademark, no more bleeping. Starting right now.
Taco Tuesday!
Well, that was LeBron James. So that doesn't mean that Taco Bell now owns the copyright. It now means that nobody owns the copyright, unless there's still one state. What is that one state? Does anybody know off the top of their head? I don't have my notes. Oh, here it is. Hang on. Except for New Jersey, where the trademark is already owned by somebody else in New Jersey, a family-owned restaurant called Gregory's Restaurant and Bar in Summers Point. Boy, nothing says tacos like Gregory's Restaurant and Bar in Summers Point, New Jersey. I can't imagine they're known for their tacos. 844-580-WDBO. Let's go to Chris, who's checking in from Deltona. Hello, Chris. How are you, bud?
Good. How are you, man?
Very good.
Good. You know, both my boys, they go to private school. Jeez. And, you know, I think as a parent, you know, I'm paying to get them this a school that I have more trust in, you know, and parents don't act like that last call or that last open mic you had about pressing charges and stuff like that, you know, and I do feel like I have more control in their education as well, you know, based on the type of curriculum they're going to push. And, you know, I'm not some uppity guy or parent, you know, I know they're going to private school, but now Ron DeSantis has made it so you can get scholarships and right to choose your school. And this year the state's paying for 90% of his school. So maybe if, you know, we want to be more a part of the decision making and stuff like that schools do, choose private school.
Yeah, and if you're able to have the money follow the student rather than following a school, that is a much better way to do it. And that is great news, certainly, Chris, for your household budget, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. It's not life-changing or anything, but it's going to give us, you know, go on vacation more, or, you know, stuff like that.
Totally understand that, Chris. Thank you so much for checking in once again. We had our kids in private school as well before we started homeschooling them. And I know what it's like to have to pay private school tuition and to realize just how much that's costing. Now, speaking about cell phones and distractions from cell phones, have you guys heard about Miranda Lambert? You know who she is. She's a country music singer. She was in the middle of a concert, and she evidently lost her temper at somebody using a cell phone in the audience. Evidently, several somebodies were taking selfies in the audience, And Miranda Lambert stops in the middle of a song, at the beginning of a song, really, and scolds the audience for taking selfies. Take a listen.
Something fall apart. I'm going to stop right here for a sec, Danny. I'm sorry. These girls are worried about their selfie and not listening to the song. It's pissing me off a little bit.
She says they're not worried about the songs. They're taking selfies, and it's pissing me off a little bit. We're here to hear some country music tonight, and I'm singing some damn country music, is what Miranda Lambert said.
Shall we start again?
So she starts over, and there you go. I don't know about you, but I would be off-put if I was in the Miranda Lambert audience. Josh, put the phone away. Josh is taking selfies in the middle of the show. I'm a little pissed where everybody's here to do talk radio, and I'm doing talk radio, and you're taking selfies over there. I don't understand. Look, Miranda Lambert, you got to not be distracted by your audience members. I mean, people pay good money to get into the concert to see you. Paul, put the camera away, put the phone away, stop taking selfies. I would be a little PO'd. And if I was the one that she was aiming the comments to, I would have walked out. And evidently, a lot of people did walk out of that concert after she made those comments. And I think scolding your audience is bad form. In a platform particularly like that, where you call them out in front of everybody, that's, in my book, just not cool. Not cool. They call that a D move. I think that's kind of a D move. 844-580-WDBO, or hit me up in the open mic in the WDBO app.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Talk and discussion on the latest breaking national news.
Crude oil prices continue to fall.
Local news.
You're not going to have Disney have its own government in Central Florida.
And stories that matter to you. Use the open mic in the WDBO app and let your voice be heard on the Joe Kelley Show.
Most cell phones nowadays cost about $1,000. A teacher in the school system has no claim to that personal property of that child or me. And let's face it, that's my phone. Okay, I'm the one paying for it. If you take my child's phone, I'll press charges for grand theft. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
As you might imagine, that open mic has triggered a lot of reaction this afternoon.
And that parent that just made that comment is what's wrong with the school system, right there.
All right, you can join me at 844-580-WDBO. Use the open mic in the WDBO app.
Hi, Joe.
Hi.
The biggest problem we have in the classrooms is not the child, but the parents. Obviously, you can tell with the feedback you're getting. I think a phone has no place in the classroom. My child has one to contact me, or if he has an emergency, but he knows he's not allowed to take it out in class.
Yep.
They'll probably do like a lot of these entertainers do now at like comedy shows and stuff like that, where when you come into class, you put your phone in a pouch, it gets locked, and then at the end of class, they'll unlock it, and you move on to the next class who does the same thing.
It's like when you go into a meeting at the White House and you put your cell phone and your cocaine in a little cubby, and then you don't get your cell phone and cocaine back until you leave the White House meeting, but just don't forget to pick up your cocaine.
My son is 14. He's a rising freshman in high school, and he just got his first cell phone turned on last week.
Wow.
I wish I could have held out longer.
Hey, look, dude, I applaud you for holding out as long as you did. That's for someone. I bet he was really excited, and I bet he whined a lot about not having a phone. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the U.S. soldier that defected to the North. Why we need to get him back. That'll be coming up next on WDBO.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Now, WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Triple Team Traffic.
Still working that crash at 436 and Pershing Avenue with the right lane blocked, and we are seeing some delays now into downtown between Parr and onto the 408 eastbound. Then it clears out nicely as you make your way to the east all the way to 417. One of the biggest traps we have right now is the Turnpike. That's heading southbound as you make your way from Lake County into Orange County. We've got a wreck there just about at Colonial. That has traffic really backed up. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. In-depth segments on topics that matter to Orange, Seminole, Osceola, and all of Central Florida. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
I love your show every night. You're doing great, bud.
While you were at work today, we got news of a U.S. soldier defecting from South Korea to North Korea. Now, this is not a common occurrence. In fact, this has not happened since the early 1960s. It was the last time a U.S. soldier defected to the North. Now, we've seen some 33,000 North Korean citizens or soldiers have defected to the South since the 1960s, but only a handful of Americans have crossed over to the North. Now, here's what we know about the soldier so far. We don't know a whole lot. He is a private in the U.S. Army. An unnamed American official said that the man is a U.S. Army soldier, private. He was detained. He evidently had been arrested for assaulting people in South Korea. He had some sort of incident. He was in a South Korean jail, and he was being sent back stateside to face his punishment. He said, evidently, that he didn't want to go back to the United States, and so he managed to slip away from the group that was to board a flight, and he managed to mingle into a United Nations tour group that was touring the area near the DMZ, the demilitarized zone that exists between North and South Korea. At which point, the American soldier ran across the border, cackling, "Ha, ha, ha," and he crossed over into the border. Now, I have there is one condition as to whether or not we should attempt to get this guy back, and that is how much intel he's exposed to. As an Army private, one would like to think that he probably doesn't have intelligence clearance, that he doesn't have the possession of intelligence. Obviously, on the grander scale, he's not very intelligent. To cross over into North Korea, if you think you're going to be treated well in North Korea, you probably have another thing coming. But if this guy has any kind of intel that could be used to exploit the United States of America, I say that we go to the farthest lengths possible to get him back. Not because he's an American and we want to liberate him, but because he is an American with intel that could hurt America, and he's in the land of a sworn enemy of the United States. Now, if we come to find that this guy is a lowly private that has no intel, has no information about weapons systems or strategies or anything else like that, you know what? You can stay in North Korea, pal. Good luck with that. I don't think you're going to find North Korea to be a better deal than the West, than the United States. Now, the most recent case of Americans crossing over to the North was 1962, and it was at the end of the Korean War. The Korean War is technically still ongoing. They never did actually end the war. It is simply a cessation of hostilities. But a small group of U.S. servicemen crossed the DMZ in 1962, and the last American soldier known to be living in North Korea died in North Korea in 2016. His name was James Joseph Desnock. His family had confirmed that he died in 2016 in North Korea and he'd lived there since 1962. Man, I wonder what that kind of life was like for him and for those other Americans that crossed over the border. What do you guys think? Should we make an effort to get this guy back? I hate the thought that Kim Jong-un has leverage now over us. I hate to think that somehow, some way, a weakened president like Joe Biden might make some sort of trade or something to get this guy back. And I would suggest he's not worth his weight in paper unless he has intel information. If he has intel information, I would go so far as to even contemplate. I know that there would be great repercussions for this, but even contemplate a military raid into North Korea to get this guy back, just to keep him out of the hands of, again, our sworn enemy, the North Koreans. The ones that are regularly testing their missile systems and have nuclear weapons. I would like to see this guy, if he has no access to intel, then leave him there in North Korea. Good luck, pal. Enjoy the rest of your life in North Korea. This is what's called the consequences of your action. Or, as the kids like to say, F around and find out. And this guy F'd around, and he's about to find out what North Korea is really like. Okay? So your thoughts, 844-580-WDBO, 844-580-9326. Do you agree? Do you agree or disagree that we should either let him rot in hell if he doesn't have access to intel information, or we should go to great lengths to get him back if he does? That's my position on that. What is your position on that? 844-580-WDBO. Use the open mic and the WDBO app. In other news, here in Orlando, I remind you of the case of Derek Diaz. Derek Diaz is the 26-year-old who was shot and killed in downtown Orlando on July 3rd. He was shot and killed by an Orlando police officer named Jose Velez. Jose Velez approached the driver's side door as Derek Diaz was in the driver's seat of the car. This happened just off Orange Avenue in downtown Orlando the night before the 4th of July, so July 3rd. And the police there had reason to believe that there was a drug deal going on, that there were drugs in the vicinity, drugs in the car. That is, according to the police, a known drug hotspot. And the guy is sitting out there with loud music, with his windows open, which, by the way, we have new noise ordinance laws in Florida. And on that alone, the police would have had rights to approach the vehicle. Just how loud the guy was playing the music. I think, and this is kind of ludicrous, but I think the law states that if you can hear the music from 12 feet away, it's too loud. Well, 12 feet away is not very far away. Your music does not have to be very loud to be 12 feet away. So it does certainly give police a tool that can be abused in approaching vehicles playing loud music. Nonetheless, this guy was given abundantly clear instructions to keep your hands on the steering wheel. But he chose to not follow those instructions. And instead, he quickly reached for the center console, opened the center console, reached his hand into the center console, and at that point, the officer at the driver's side of the door shot him one time. Looks like it hit him in the thigh. The Orlando police blurred the imagery, but in the body cam video, it looks like he was hit in the thigh. For anybody who has remedial medical training, you know the femoral artery runs through the thigh. And if shot in the femoral artery, he could bleed out pretty quick, which evidently he did do, in spite of police starting first aid right away. Now you're asking, Joe, why are you bringing this up? This is a few weeks old. Yes, but the family of the deceased, Derek Diaz, is calling for change within the Orlando Police Department after their son, their brother, their dad was killed. So they spoke Monday at the Orlando City Council meeting, explicitly calling for better de-escalation training. I've seen the video time and time again, and there was not an opportunity to de-escalate that because every move Derek Diaz made escalated it and the police were just trying to do their job. They were just giving the guy easy-to-follow commands. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. I'll pull the audio again if you want to hear it. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. And he couldn't do that. And now the family, and I do not like to be in the position of criticizing a family in grief. But they have gone to the Orlando City Council, the Orlando City Commission, and said they took my son in a minute. This is Diaz's mom. He did everything officers told them to do. He even said, "I'm sorry," to the cop. I hate to disagree with a grieving mother, but your son did not do everything he was told. He was given one instruction. She says they're all shouting multiple orders. They're all shouting different things. No, they were not. One officer was the only one talking, and he was saying, keep your hands on the steering wheel. And this guy reached for the center console. I don't believe that anybody deserves to die. I'm sorry that their son died because of that. But they are now calling for that police officer to be fired and charged. And in the last hour, we were talking about how hard it is to hire teachers, how few teachers we have, how our schools are in a world of pain because we don't have enough real teachers in there. Well, this is why we have a problem finding enough cops. Because this family is out there, just like the dad who said, if you take my son's cell phone, I'm going to file charges and I'm going to have you arrested and it's going to be a felony and blah, 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 blah. This is the same thing, but law enforcement. So this police officer is out there doing his job. And I got to tell you, if I'm being honest with you, and that's all I can do with my audience, it's all I can do with you is be honest. If I were to lean one way or the other, I am more anti-cop than pro-cop. I think cops have the ability, they're the front line of offense when it comes to civil rights violations of American citizens. Police officers are, which is why I believe police officers should be held to a higher standard. And I had a personal experience with police once that forever tainted my view of law enforcement. And I know it was one incident one time, but I've never been able to shake it. I went on one police ride-along in my life once. And it's something I will never do again. I never want to see how the sausage is made with law enforcement. Because what I saw the cops do on that day when I did a ride-along with the police shocked me. Watching them beat a suspect who was handcuffed and seat belted into a car. I just couldn't believe what I saw. So I don't want to get too deep into that personal experience. I will at a later date. But suffice to say, if I were to lean one way or the other, I would lean in favor of the citizens instead of the police. But in this particular case, I disagree with the citizens, and the police are spot on. I don't think the police in this scenario, and again, I'm an armchair law enforcement officer. That's it. All right. I call them like I see them. I call strikes and balls. And in this case, I think the police officer regrettably had little to no choice but to shoot this guy for reaching into the center console. And I'm angry. I'm angry at this suspect. I'm angry at the dead man, Derek Diaz. I'm angry that you made an officer pull out his gun and shoot you. Because as much as that ride-along that I did has weighed on my heart and mind my entire life, can you imagine shooting and killing somebody, even if you were in the right? Even if you did the right things and you followed your training, that's going to live with that cop for the rest of his life. And I hate Derek Diaz for putting that police officer in that situation. And I'm disappointed in his mother for calling for this officer's arrest and firing. Give me your thoughts right now. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. Or use the open mic in the WDBO app.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. News, weather, traffic, all the things you want on your drive home. Plus, Joe Kelley being, well, Joe Kelley. Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's News and Talk, WDBO.
The family of a man shot and killed July 3rd by an Orlando police officer is demanding that the officer be criminally charged and that he be, of course, fired from the police department.
Hey, Joe, I wonder if the kid just couldn't hear clearly what he was being instructed to do because the music was too loud. Sad story all the way around, though.
Yeah, it is.
Wish they would have maybe pulled a taser on him or something. I don't know. Bullet for reaching seems a little extreme.
Seems a little extreme, and unless and until it's your kid. That's the cop. I mean, unless and until it's your kid, that's the cop. Then I think that you might think otherwise. I've got the full audio here. Take a listen to this and listen for yourself. I don't think the music was too loud because the first thing the police officer says is turn the music down.
Yo.
Right, I did. Do I not have the right one? Is it body camera July 3rd shooting, right? Yeah, okay, I've got the right one.
Yo.
Okay, so you can hear the music.
Turn off the car. Turn it off. Yeah, it's in your hand, right there.
And see, he just said, I'm sorry. The man who gets killed, Derek Diaz, says, I'm sorry. So when the mom says, my son even said, I'm sorry, what relevance is that? How does that matter that your son said, I'm sorry that the music was too loud, but then he reaches for the center console. I continue with this body camera audio from the shooting on July 3rd.
Yes, okay, in this hand and that hand. My bad. Now, give me that. Give me the other one and put your hands on the steering wheel right now.
Now, you notice no other cops are shouting orders. There's only one cop talking. There's 3 cops there. Only one cop is talking.
Don't move.
Clear instructions. Don't move.
Put your hands on the steering wheel. Put your hands on the steering wheel.
And there he got shot. There was no screaming and yelling. There was no confusion. There were no conflicting orders. There weren't multiple cops shouting all at once. That one officer was in charge of the situation. He had control. Jose Velez, Officer Velez, was the officer that was in charge of this incident. I don't know that he was the highest ranking, but he was the guy that was in charge. He was the guy making contact with the suspect. And I'm terribly sorry to the family of Derek Diaz. And I can't know what your pain is like. I cannot know. And I hope something good does come out of this. But firing the police officer and charging him with a crime can't be the solution. It can't be what good comes out of this, because it's not good. Because it sends the wrong message to law enforcement. It sends the wrong message to the community. It sends the wrong message to everybody. If you can't follow simple instructions, just like the conversation last hour, put your cell phones away in school. And if a police officer tells you in a calm, clear manner, put your hands on the steering wheel, put your damn hands on the steering wheel.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's News and Talk. Connected to our community. Talk local issues and events with Joe Kelley. Use the open mic in the WDBO app and let Joe know what interests you. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
You know, I saw this headline from WESH, and the headline reads, "Family calls for better police training in Orlando." And my first thought was, I'm always down for better police training. We should always have better. There's always room for better police training in Orlando. But that's not what the family was really calling for. What the family was really calling for was for the police officer to be fired and charged. Jose Velez is the police officer that shot and killed Derek Diaz, as Derek Diaz disobeyed the instructions, abundantly clear instructions given by the police officer, Jose Velez. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. He didn't keep his hands on the steering wheel. He deliberately reached for the center console. And he was grabbing something from the center console, by the way. We later learned it was not a gun. There was no gun in the vehicle. The guy could have easily lived from that incident had he kept his hands on the steering wheel. But he was reaching for something in the center console, and that something was aluminum foil wrapped around drugs. And he threw it out the car. He actually managed to throw it out the car after he was shot. So he wasn't reaching for nothing in that center console, but he wasn't reaching for a gun.
Joe, there's no respect for law enforcement anymore. It's not like when we were kids. You know, everybody wants to pull out their cell phone, starts filming or telling these officers that they pay their paychecks. Little do we know that these people are out there risking their life every day trying to maintain the law. Just like the people in the prisons. You know, these guards, there's a shortage of it for a reason. These people are getting killed for no reason. Why? Because there's no respect.
Yeah, my oldest son, Joey, he's a clink. He's a prison guard. And I hear it from him regularly about how tough it is with their inability to hire additional guards, and I hear it. And you're right. This is the exact discussion we had last hour, except last hour we were talking about students and teachers. This hour it's citizens and police officers, and there is no respect. And to take you back to last hour, as we were talking about the Orange County School Board is discussing banning cell phones from schools from bell to bell, from the first bell to the last bell. And kids cannot use them even during lunchtime. They can have them, but they have to be put away. They have to be in their backpacks. And we got this open mic that a lot of people are talking about.
Most cell phones nowadays cost about $1,000. A teacher in the school system has no claim to that personal property of that child or me. And let's face it, that's my phone. Okay, I'm the one paying for it. If you take my child's phone, I'll press charges for grand theft. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
Isn't it interesting that the inclination for some parents is to believe their kids before they believe a teacher? Now, I know when I was a kid, I'm real sure my parents would believe a teacher before anything that I would say. And it's good to have trust between parents and your children, no doubt. But to completely discount what teachers have to say, here's another open mic.
Concerning the call of the dad who said, if you take my son's cell phone, I'll sue you for grand theft. Well, Joe, I have 3 family members that are school teachers, and it is parents like that that make their job almost impossible because they probably wipe little Johnny's nose or his behind every time he makes a boo-boo, and their kids grow up to be entitled little monsters.
Yeah, I get that. And they end up becoming people who don't listen to police officers, is what they are.
Wow, Joe, I hate to say this, but the more I'm listening to you within the last maybe month or two,
okay,
I find you leaning farther and farther to the left, and I'm not sure if I want to listen to you anymore. I'm sorry. I just think your views of the world are very skewed.
With zero examples. I don't mind. In fact, I enjoy criticism. I enjoy constructive criticism. I welcome it. I don't mind if people criticize me. But give me examples of where you think I'm going left on you. And I'm specifically talking to that person. Leave another open mic. What exactly is it that troubles you most? I'd be curious to hear. You can also call me at 844-580-WDBO. Governor Ron DeSantis, the political action committee that supports Governor Ron DeSantis, has released another television ad that uses artificial intelligence. Now, in the most recent, a super PAC, this one called Never Back Down, has released an ad that uses a computer-generated voice of Donald Trump because they wanted to quote something that Donald Trump wrote but didn't say. Donald Trump posted something to Truth Social, but he didn't actually say it out loud. Well, a Truth Social screenshot does not make compelling television production. Okay? So the DeSantis team, and in this case, I've got to be real clear about this. It's a super PAC that is supporting Governor DeSantis. They're not supposed to coordinate on ads. So theoretically, Ron DeSantis had nothing to do with this, had no involvement in the production of this commercial, but a political action committee that is supporting Ron DeSantis did. So take a listen to this. Now, the last ad that a DeSantis PAC put out, there were AI visuals that were faked, including pictures of Donald Trump with Dr. Fauci, Anthony Fauci, and Donald Trump kissing Anthony Fauci. Those were AI-generated images, and to me, that was grotesquely inappropriate because those were events that never happened. I think in this case, I can understand why this team, this political action committee, Never Back Down, thinks it's okay to use the voice because it was something that Donald Trump posted. At least it's something that Donald Trump actually wrote. He didn't say it out loud, but take a listen to this 30-second commercial and know that the Trump voice you hear is generated by a computer. Take a listen.
Governor Kim Reynolds is a conservative champion. She signed the heartbeat bill and stands up for Iowans every day. So why is Donald Trump attacking her?
I opened up the governor position for Kim Reynolds, in which she fell behind. I endorsed her, did big rallies, and she won. Now she wants to remain neutral. I don't invite her to events.
Trump should fight Democrats, not Republicans. What happened to Donald Trump? Never Back Down is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Honestly, it's pretty good AI, but I think Frank Caliendo does a better impersonation of Donald Trump. I think a lot of people do. The guy from SNL does a better impersonation of Donald Trump than that AI did. But Donald Trump wrote those words, but didn't actually say them. But this is a dangerous path to go down, using artificially created, computer-generated voices and imagery in political campaigns. This is a dangerous road to go down. And even though I find this most recent case to be less egregious than the previous one with the images that were used with Trump and Fauci kissing, this is still a very slippery slope and a dangerous road to go down. You can share your thoughts at 844-580-WDBO or hit me up in the open mic in the WDBO app.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Now, the three big things you need to know.
Three. A pair of monster jackpots are up for grabs in the multi-state lotteries. Tonight's Mega Millions drawing features a top prize of $640 million. The estimated jackpot for tomorrow night's Powerball drawing is $1 billion. Two. Home builder sentiment is rising for the seventh straight month. The National Association of Home Builders Wells Fargo Housing Market Index rose 1 point to 56 in July. Builders remain concerned about higher mortgage rates, but say the lack of existing homes for sale is helping to drive demand for new construction. One. Mexico is not thrilled with Texas's floating border wall. The incoming foreign minister has shot off a letter warning that it's likely a violation of the U.S.-Mexican Water Treaty, which covers the Rio Grande. The Texas governor reportedly didn't seek permission before deploying the technology.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Insightful.
You tell the truth from your point of view.
Entertaining.
Man, that guy is a lot taller than he sounds on the radio.
And engaging.
When we hear you on the radio, it's a good thing.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
I want you guys to hear this new song from Jason Aldean. A lot of people are buzzing about this new song. Country star Jason Aldean. Jason Aldean is a big star. That's about all I know about him. I'm not a big country music follower, but he is the guy that recently walked out in the middle of a concert because of heat exhaustion. But he's a big deal. We do have a country station, K92.3, here in our stable of radio stations at Cox Media Group, and I'm sure they know Jason Aldean personally. But Jason Aldean has a new song out now called Try That in a Small Town, and people are calling this controversial because effectively he's daring Black Lives Matter and social justice warriors to try to riot in the rural South. You know, all that rioting and stuff, and the video is probably the more controversial part of this because the video shows, a variety of images that include Black Lives Matter's riots and fires and violence. And then Jason Aldean in concert singing that song to a pretty much all-white audience and daring Black Lives Matter to come to the South and try that stuff in the South. And I'll tell you, it's the first time ever with a country song I had to bleep a swear word out of the country song, but I'll just let you hear part of the song here from Jason Aldean.
Punch somebody on the sidewalk, carjacking old lady at a red light, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool, act a fool if you like.
I don't have a lot of time here, so I'm going to read you some of the lyrics. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag, and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough. Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here, we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I won't recommend you do it. Try that in a small town. Got a gun that my granddad gave me. They say one day they're going to round up. Well, that poop might fly in the city. Good luck. Anyhow, it goes on. If you want to see the whole video, we've got it. Just look for this story in the WDBO app, and you'll be able to check it out there. Thank you guys so much for all of your phone calls, open mics. Thanks for your participation. The big P word in our chat room. We really appreciate everybody joining us in the WDBO chat room on our Facebook page. Third hour of Sean Hannity is coming up next.